What if everything you thought you knew about the dawn of civilization was wrong? What if the gods our ancestors worshipped weren't just myths, but flesh and blood beings who came down from the heavens? Thousands of years ago, ancient clay tablets told the story of powerful deities known as the Anunnaki, who ruled over humanity. For centuries we've called this mythology. But a controversial theory reframes it as history, suggesting these weren't gods at all, they were astronauts, and they didn't just rule our world, they built it. In the Fertile Crescent of ancient Mesopotamia, in what's now modern-day Iraq, the world's first great civilization emerged. We call them the Sumerians. Now, it wasn't that they appeared out of thin air. Archaeological evidence shows a more gradual development from earlier local cultures, but the sheer speed and scale of their innovation is still staggering. These were the people who gave us the wheel. One of the first written languages, complex legal codes, epic literature, and even the 60-second minute we still use to measure time. Their cities were marvels of engineering, their trade networks were huge, and their understanding of the cosmos was incredibly sophisticated. They mapped the stars and tied their most powerful gods to the planets and sun. The god Utu was linked to the sun, Nana to the moon, and the goddess Inanna to the planet Venus. At the very heart of their world was their relationship with these gods, a pantheon of beings they called the Anunnaki. According to their sacred texts, these gods came from the heavens, and it was they who decree the fates of mankind. The Sumerians believed they owed everything to these powerful, sky-dwelling deities, but who or what were they really? If you read the original Sumerian texts like the epic poem Enki and the World Order, a very clear picture emerges. The Anunnaki are a group of powerful divine beings. The name itself is often translated as something like princely offspring, the children of the supreme sky god, and they acted as a divine council, governing everything from the laws of nature to the laws of society. They were also seen as judges, especially in the underworld, weighing the souls of mortals after death. The Sumerian creation story is one of the oldest we have. It tells of a time when the gods did all the work themselves and they grew tired of it. So the clever god Enki, one of the head Anunnaki, came up with a plan. He and other deities created humankind from clay, specifically to serve the gods and take care of the earth. For thousands of years, this story was understood exactly as it was written, as a sacred myth explaining humanity's place in the universe. It was the foundation of their religion, a story of gods and mortals, heaven and earth. In these ancient records you won't find any mention of aliens, spacecraft, or distant planets. The Anunnaki were gods, full stop. But in the 20th century, that reading of history was about to be turned on its head. This is where the story takes a wild turn, and it's all thanks to a writer named Zeia Sitchin. Starting in the 1970s, Sitchin published a series of books that flipped Mesopotamian history upside down. He claimed he had a unique ability to translate Sumerian cuneiform, and his translations told a story that was radically different from what mainstream historians accepted. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki weren't gods at all, but flesh and blood extraterrestrials. He said they came from a supposed 12th planet in our solar system, called Nibiru, which he claimed had a massive 600-year orbit that only rarely brings it close to Earth. Sitchin's story goes that nearly 500,000 years ago the Anunnaki faced an atmospheric crisis on their home planet and traveled to Earth for one reason: to mine gold, which he argued they needed to create a protective shield for their atmosphere. In Sitchin's version, the Anunnaki did this brutal mining work themselves for hundreds of thousands of years before the workers rebelled. Needing a new labor force, their chief scientist, the same figure known as Enki in the myths, performed a stunning feat of genetic engineering. They took a primitive hominid already on Earth, maybe Homo erectus, and upgraded it by splicing in their own alien DNA. The result was Homo sapiens, us, a hybrid species, created to be a race of slaves. It's a mind-blowing story, but it's absolutely critical to state that this narrative comes only from Sitchin's interpretations, which are overwhelmingly rejected by virtually all mainstream historians, archaeologists, and experts in Sumerian language, who label his work as pseudoscience. Proponents of this ancient astronaut theory don't just rely on texts. They'll tell you to look at the world around us, at giant stone structures that seem to defy easy explanation. How, they ask, could ancient people with just primitive tools build monuments on such a massive and precise scale? They point to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its base is level to within an inch, and its sides are almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. Some theorists claim this was far beyond the abilities of the ancient Egyptians. Or what about Stonehenge in England, with its massive stones hauled from miles away and set up as a perfect celestial calendar? Or the eerie Moai statues of Easter Island, carved from volcanic rock and moved across the island by methods we still debate? The theory proposes that these amazing feats were only possible with advanced extraterrestrial technology. But mainstream archaeology pushes back hard. Archaeologists have found the quarries where the stones were cut, the tools used to shape them, and even ancient Egyptian papyri that describe the day-to-day logistics of building the pyramids. They argue that these marvels aren't proof of aliens, but of something just as incredible: human ingenuity, planning, and the power to organize massive projects over generations. Perhaps the most startling claim of the ancient astronaut theory is that the proof isn't just in stone, but in our blood. If we were genetically engineered, shouldn't there be some biological evidence? Theorists often point to things like the elongated skulls found in ancient cultures all over the world, from Peru to Egypt. These skulls have been held up as possible proof of Anunnaki human hybrids, with the strange shape being a leftover trait from our creators. But once again, science offers a more down-to-earth explanation. The overwhelming scientific consensus is that these skulls are not the result of alien genetics, but of a cultural practice called artificial cranial deformation. For thousands of years, many cultures intentionally bound the heads of infants while their skulls were still soft, molding them into an elongated shape, likely as a sign of nobility or group identity. It's a fascinating, widespread human tradition, but it's not biological. The idea of alien DNA remains pure speculation with no credible scientific evidence to back it up. So, you have two completely different versions of history. One is a story of gods and mythology. The other is a story of aliens and engineering. We want to know which one you find more compelling. Is there a piece of evidence, an ancient text, or a mysterious ruin that convinces you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find these deep dives into history's biggest mysteries as fascinating as we do, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next investigation. So where does that leave us? On one side you have the ancient astronaut theory, a gripping story popularized by writers like Zeia Sitchin. On the other, you have the unified consensus of the entire academic and scientific community. Mainstream historians, archaeologists, and linguists categorize the ancient astronaut theory as pseudo-archaeology. They argue its supporters consistently misrepresent evidence, quote ancient texts out of context, and just ignore anything that contradicts their narrative. Critics are quick to point out that Sitchin's translations of Sumerian words aren't supported by any other expert, and seem to be invented to fit his story. The claim that the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold, for example, is found nowhere in the actual Sumerian texts. From the academic viewpoint, the transformation of the Anunnaki from Mesopotamian gods into gold-mining aliens is a thoroughly modern myth. It says more about our own society's fascination with space, conspiracies, and aliens than it does about the ancient Sumerians. The theory can also carry some troubling undertones by suggesting that ancient non-white cultures in places like Egypt or Mesoamerica were incapable of their own incredible achievements without help from outsiders. In the end, we're left with two profoundly different tales about the Anunnaki. One is rooted right here on Earth in the clay tablets and archaeological sites of the Sumerians. It tells of a deeply religious people who saw divine forces all around them and created powerful myths to make sense of their world. The other story is written in the stars, a modern retelling that recasts those myths as a literal history of alien intervention that shaped our very being. The appeal of the ancient astronaut theory is undeniable. It offers a single, dramatic answer to some of the biggest questions we have. Where did we come from? Why are we here? But while the theory fires up the imagination, the actual evidence remains firmly on the side of human accomplishment. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't whether aliens built the pyramids or tinkered with our DNA. Maybe the real mystery is why we seem so eager to believe they did, sometimes overlooking the incredible documented ingenuity of our own ancestors. The truth may be out there, but it's just as likely to be buried right here under our feet, waiting in the pages of a history book.